Hello, everyone. Today, I'd like to discuss the business model of the Three Kingdoms period with you all. Mr. Wang Yun was truly a top-tier strategist. He identified the core weaknesses of Dong Zhuo and Lu Bu, this so-called artificial father-son duo, and leveraged Yao Chan as his trump card to execute a flawless merger and acquisition restructuring. This exemplifies what we often call addressing current challenges with a forward-looking perspective. Consider the current international landscape. The China-US summit has just sent positive signals, with major powers seeking a balance and cooperation. Meanwhile, President Putin has begun his visit to China. This mirrors the situation in ancient Chang'an. On the surface, everything appears calm, but beneath the surface, intense power struggles and confrontations are underway among various factions. Returning to the Three Kingdoms era, Dong Zhuo's greed and arrogance ultimately led to his downfall, an inevitable outcome. As for Lu Bu, he instantly transformed from a lackey into a so-called loyal minister, though this shift reflected a real redistribution of interests. Soon after, Li Ju and Guosi, the two co-founders, seeing their leader eliminated, promptly formed an alliance to seize market share. Therefore, I would like to emphasize that whether in the power struggles of ancient times or in today's international dynamics, the core principle remains unchanged. If you fail to adapt, you will be left behind by the times. If you cannot discern the trends, you will become a stepping stone for others. Just moments ago, we were still reviewing the heart-stopping crisis management at Fenjiating Pavilion. Dong Zhuo was furious, while Lu Bu faced the greatest risk of career collapse. At that critical moment, Li Ru, Dong Zhuo's chief strategic officer, burst in with his Jueying conference plan. This is not merely a historical anecdote, friends. It is a top-tier asset restructuring and talent retention strategy. Li Ru's logic is remarkably clear, sacrificing the company's most critical productivity asset, Lu Bu, for a non-core asset, Yao Chan, represents an absolute, get the sesame seed and lose the watermelon approach from a business perspective. He attempted to reshape Dong Zhuo's mindset using the strategic vision of King Zhuang of Chu, arguing that granting Yao Chan to Lu Bu would not only resolve internal conflicts, but also earn the gratitude of this top-tier general, achieving a strategic synergy where 1 plus 12. Sounds perfect, doesn't it? This is Mashani textbook-level win-win thinking. But what followed reminded me of a phenomenon we often observe in the real world. What happens when rational data models collide with humanity's most primal emotional algorithms? This is akin to the global market turbulence we are experiencing today. As you can see, the high-level meeting between China and the United States has just sent positive signals, which should have been a major boon for global capital markets, right? However, when we examine the intraday data from May 19th, the market reaction appears remarkably complex and paradoxical. Nasdaq futures actually extended their losses to 0.63%, while the South Korean won fell by 1%, performing even worse than all other Asian currencies. What does this indicate? It shows that in the face of significant uncertainty, even with macro-level policy support, panic sentiment at the micro-level continues to dominate short-term market fluctuations. Returning to the heart of power in Chang'an City, Dong Zhuo nodded superficially after hearing Li Ru's suggestion and said, "I'll give it some thought." This mirrors how many CEOs, during board meetings, appear persuaded after listening to a CFO's rational report, yet their underlying decision-making systems remain unchanged. He then turned and walked into the rear hall, directly approaching the most critical variable, Yao Chan. The following scene stands as the greatest user experience demonstration in human history. Yao Chan, the top-tier product manager of the Three Kingdoms period, possessed profound insight into human nature. Confronted with Dong Zhuo's accusations, she offered no defense but instead delivered an Oscar-worthy emotional performance, tears streaming down her face, her hands trembling, and her determination evident as she slammed against a pillar. Through this profoundly moving display, she instantly shattered Dong Zhuo's rational defenses. At that moment, Li Ru's flawless asset restructuring plan became utterly worthless in the face of a single tear shed by Yao Chan. Dong Zhuo immediately abandoned his broader strategic vision and vowed to kill Lu Bu, pounding his chest in resolve. This kind of behavior, overturning long-term strategic plans due to personal emotions and short-term sensory stimuli, is also playing out in today's financial markets. Take the SP/ASX 200 index in Australia. It rose 1.2% against the trend, closing at 8,604.70 points. Global fund managers are buying stocks frenetically, with cash holdings dropping to 3.9%, the largest monthly decline since February 2024. Why? Because they fear missing out, greed and fear are driving capital flows, rather than calm macroeconomic analysis. Even Japan's 20-year government bond yield has climbed to 3.78% as funds desperately seek outlets. Therefore, Dong Zhuo's decision to follow Li Ru's advice and trust Diao Chan's tears was not merely driven by lust. It represented a classic case of cognitive short-circuiting. He believed he was upholding his dignity and love, but in reality, he was undermining the very foundations of his own empire. What I want to convey is that whether in Chang'an in 192 AD or in the global capital markets of 2026, the weaknesses of human nature remain unchanged. Li Ru embodies the absolutely rational algorithm, while Diao Chan represents the unpredictable variables of human nature. When decision-makers fail to harness these two forces, a collapse becomes inevitable. Dong Zhuo believed he held control over the empire, yet he could not even suppress his emotions. The market thought it had entered a bull phase, but no one could predict whether a black swan event might occur at any moment. In this era filled with noise and volatility, maintaining a clear mind and understanding the underlying logic behind surface phenomena is far more crucial than possessing a legendary weapon like the Fangtian Huaji or holding a basket of stocks. As everyone knows, in the previous version, our Chief Strategy Officer Li Ru proposed a highly cost-effective solution aimed at fixing the system vulnerability between Dong Zhuo and Lu Bu. However, the next day, when Li Ru eagerly went to inquire about the outcome, Dong Zhuo delivered an extremely negative user feedback. I share a deep father-son bond with Lu Bu. The matter of Diao Chan must never be mentioned again. Upon hearing this, Li Ru was utterly stunned. He looked up to the sky and sighed deeply. It's over. We will eventually meet our end at the hands of this woman. What does this resemble? It resembles the current situation in the Middle East. Have you been following the news? Just yesterday, May 19th, the Iranian stock market finally resumed trading after being suspended for over 80 days, but more than 40 affected companies, including those in the chemical and base metal sectors, remain unable to resume operations. The Trump administration continues to exert intense pressure, claiming that the clock is ticking, and warning that Iran will face even more severe consequences if it does not present a better solution. Isn't this extreme uncertainty and emotional decision-making exactly similar to the current state of Dong Zhuo? Dong Zhuo was completely blinded by emotion and decided to take Diao Chan back to Meiwu to enjoy his private mansion. That Meiwu, its city walls were as sturdy as those of Chen, with grain piled high like mountains. It was essentially an enclosed ecosystem he had built. Before leaving, he even instructed Lu Bu to guard Chang'an diligently, completely unaware that Lu Bu, his key executive, had already suffered a complete breakdown in mental stability. Lu Bu stood on the city tower, watching the convoy disappear into the distance. Inside the carriage, Diao Chan gazed at him with tender yet resentful eyes. At that moment, Lu Bu's heart melted instantly, filled with both compassion and anger. This sentiment mirrored that of the helpless, ordinary people on the current Russia-Ukraine battlefield. Just 2 days earlier, May 17th to 18th, the largest drone battle of the year erupted between Russia and Ukraine. Within 24 hours, approximately 130 drones approached Moscow, while Kyiv endured its most severe airstrikes in months. Confronted with such a massive geopolitical conflict, individual power appears utterly insignificant. Lu Bu's profound sense of helplessness embodied this ultimate emotional pain point. At that very moment, our top product manager, Situ Wangyun, approached slowly. Instead of delivering grand lectures, he directly addressed the user's core concern. General, Grand Tutor Dong has taken control of Diao Chan and bullied you. This is utterly outrageous. The Han Dynasty's territory has been ruined by him. Would you truly accept enduring such injustice indefinitely? Lu Bu was already seething with anger. When Wang Yun provoked him like this, his fury reached its peak. Yet he harbored a concern. After all, he is my adoptive father. I fear I might be accused of patricide. This essentially represents the final psychological barrier users face when using the product. What did Wang Yun do? He laughed heartily and directly struck at the core of the issue. The general is utterly foolish. He bears the surname Dong, while you bear the surname Lu. You are not even related. When he threw his halberd at you in the Fengyi Pavilion to kill you, did he ever consider even a shred of father-son affection? He treated you merely as a tool. By killing him, you eliminated a threat to the people and became a great hero who upheld the Han Dynasty. These words amounted to a perfect system overhaul. Lu Bu suddenly understood and slapped his thigh, exclaiming, Master Situ is absolutely right. I am determined. I will kill the traitor Dong. As he spoke, he drew his sword and slashed his arm, using the blood as his oath. At that moment, Lu Bu had completed his transformation from a mere laborer into a true partner. Upon confirming the successful conversion of users, Wang Yun promptly unveiled the final solution. Good general. Let's send someone to Meiwu to falsely deliver an imperial edict claiming the emperor will abdicate in favor of Dong Zhuo, thereby luring him back to Chang'an. As soon as he enters the palace, we'll deploy a massive force in ambush to ensure his return is impossible. To implement this plan, they also enlisted the bold yet meticulous Li Su. Originally a subordinate of Dong Zhuo who had long desired to switch sides, Li Su volunteered for the mission. This mirrors something akin to the recent historic breakthrough between Israel and the UAE, when Netanyahu made a secret visit to the UAE, only for the U.S. ambassador to reveal it publicly. In the grand geopolitical game, there are no permanent friends, only enduring interests. Li Su's defection was precisely the inevitable choice arising from this realignment of interests. Therefore, friends, whether in the political struggles of ancient times or in today's complex international landscape, the underlying logic remains the same. Whoever addresses users' pain points, identifies trends, and acts decisively gains the initiative. Dong Zhuo lost due to his arrogance and isolationism, while Lu Bu and Wang Yun succeeded through precise insight and exceptional execution. This is the charm of history, and also the power of technology in business. As everyone knows, while the previous generation product Dong Zhuo boasted impressive performance, it was riddled with numerous bugs. Consequently, our product manager Wang Yun and core engineer Lu Bu decided to collaborate on a groundbreaking solution to completely end the Dong Zhuo era. First, they dispatched the highly capable Li Su to Meiwu. Upon meeting Dong Zhuo, Li Su immediately presented a highly attractive proposition. Congratulations, Grand Tutor. The Emperor has decided to abdicate the throne to you and has specially summoned you back to Chang'an to preside over the grand ceremony. This was essentially an irresistible ecological pie for Dong Zhuo. At this news, Dong Zhuo's eyes widened in astonishment. He had always dreamed of becoming emperor. How could he even bother distinguishing truth from falsehood? He promptly rewarded Li Su generously and set off for Chang'an that very night, eager to fly there with wings and ascend the throne. But on the journey, the system began reporting errors incessantly. The wheels suddenly snapped, the horses cried out in alarm, a fierce wind blew, and children sang eerie nursery rhymes. Dong Zhuo grew suspicious and asked Li Su what was happening. Li Su thought instantly and delivered a flawless public relations response. Your Excellency, you are about to become emperor. This is an auspicious sign of replacing the old with the new and the dragon ascending to the ninth throne. Dong Zhuo fell for it completely, unaware that he was walking down the path to his grave. As soon as Dong Zhuo entered the imperial palace, before he could even react with joy, he saw Wang Yun, Shi Sun Rui, and others holding swords, shouting fiercely, "Rebel Dong Zhuo! By imperial decree, we must eliminate the traitor today." Terrified, Dong Zhuo instinctively cried out, "Where is my son Fengxian? Save me quickly." Until his last breath, he believed that Lu Bu was his most loyal subordinate. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Bu strode out holding his square heaven halberd, saying expressionlessly, "An imperial edict has been issued to suppress the rebels. I am Lu Fengxian, the one who eliminated the traitors, not your obedient son." With that, he thrust the halberd through Dong Zhuo's chest. The powerful minister Dong Zhuo, without even having time to deliver his final words, met his end on the spot. The surrounding ambush troops surged forward. Upon hearing of Dong Zhuo's death, the people of Chang'an flooded the streets in jubilation, making the scene more lively than the spring festival celebrations. Some even dragged Dong Zhuo's corpse into the city center, lit a lamp at his navel, and burned it for an entire night, a testament to the profound resentment the public held toward this failed product. The Dong group collapsed completely, allowing Lu Bu to achieve his goal and win the woman he desired, becoming a great hero in Chang'an. Wang Yun took charge of the government affairs, and for a time, it seemed the Han dynasty held hope of revival. Yet who could have imagined that as soon as old Master Wang Yun had secured victory, he began to become arrogant, his intelligence seemingly completely lost. After Dong Zhuo's death, his subordinates in the Xiliang army, Li Ju, Guisi, and others, were so terrified they hid at the foot of the mountain, refusing to emerge. They promptly sent messengers to Chang'an, pleading with Wang Yun to pardon their crimes and offering to disband their troops and return home to farm. Logically, this would have been an opportunity to stabilize public sentiment and boost user retention. Yet Wang Yun remained steadfast in his stance, firmly rejecting the request. Dongjua committed countless atrocities, all aided by these individuals. We must eradicate them completely. Not a single one shall survive. The subordinate minister quickly advised, Your Excellency Situ, the Xiliang troops are numerous. When cornered, they will resort to desperate measures. It's better to first pacify them and then deal with them gradually. Wang Yun raised his head with utter arrogance. What do I have to fear of them? I even killed Dongjua. These mere bandits won't cause any major trouble. The news reached Li Ju and Guosi, and the four men were utterly despairing. They gathered together with tearful faces and said, Wang Yun won't let us live. We might as well disband our army and flee for our lives. At that moment, their advisor Jia Su stepped forward, stopped them, and said resentfully, Are you foolish? If we disband our army now, any local magistrate could arrest and execute any of us. Wouldn't that be courting death? Jia Su's remarks essentially aimed to help everyone gain a clear understanding of the current macroeconomic landscape. A look at today's market data reveals this. Concerns over the Strait of Hormuz blockade continue to drive prices higher, with Brent crude exceeding $109 per barrel and WTI surpassing $102. The 30-year U.S. Treasury yield is nearing 5.1%, and traders are aggressively buying put options, as the market is convinced that the Federal Reserve will raise interest rates rather than lower them. In such an extremely stressful and panic-driven environment, choosing to dissolve your forces and flee would be akin to cutting losses when Bitcoin falls below $77,000 and Nvidia plunges by 4%, a surefire way to incur substantial losses. Moreover, note a significant development. SpaceX plans to submit its IPO application this Wednesday, May 20th, with an early listing on the Nasdaq scheduled for June 12th. What does this indicate? It shows that true leaders are always seeking new growth drivers rather than sitting idle. Even Trump's stance on interest rate cuts has softened, acknowledging that the U.S.-Iran conflict has fueled inflation and complicated the prospects for rate reductions. In this era of uncertainty, without strategic leverage, such as military power, one becomes a lamb at the slaughter. Therefore, Jia Su's logic is crystal clear. Rather than passively wait to be liquidated, it's better to take the initiative and turn a crisis into an opportunity. This exemplifies top-tier strategic thinking. Whether it's the ancient Xiliang army or us navigating today's market, marked by soaring oil prices and a retreat in tech stocks from their highs, the principle remains the same. Never underestimate your opponent's counterattack capability, and never abandon your core assets when facing dire circumstances. The four generals of the Xiliang army, Li Ju, Guosi, and their companions had been driven to a desperate situation, struggling to figure out how to survive. At that moment, their chief strategic advisor, Jia Su, stepped forward. The four men looked at Jia Su in utter confusion. What brilliant plan do you have, sir? We will follow your advice. Jia Su stroked his chin, his eyes gleaming with determination as he proposed an exceptionally bold breakthrough plan. Why don't we raise the banner of avenging Dongjua, rally all former Xiliang troops, and launch a direct assault on Chang'an? If we win, we'll seize control of the government and enjoy every advantage. If we lose, we can always escape with our lives. Since death is inevitable anyway, why not take this gamble? These four men were inherently rough and unrefined. Upon hearing Jia Su's argument make sense, they immediately became energized. They raised their arms in a call to action, and the former troops of the Xiliang army responded en masse. Within days, they had assembled over 100,000 soldiers and advanced toward Chang'an in a massive procession, a spectacle even more spectacular than today's sports events. Consider this: Mourinho returned to Real Madrid for a 2-year contract. Lewandowski bid farewell to Camp Nou with tears, prompting Chang'an applause. Barcelona officially announced their offer for Batoni. The NBA playoffs saw the Spurs advance to the Western Conference Finals. The Cavaliers secured a dominant 7-game victory over the Pistons. The entire sports community erupted in excitement. The Xiliang army of that era acted similarly. Its collective response sent officials around Chang'an into utter panic. Upon hearing the news, Wang Yun panicked and immediately dispatched Lu Bu and Li Su with troops to engage the enemy. Lu Bu, a master of martial arts, was our top-tier flagship force, whereas Li Su proved inadequate. When leading his troops against Niu Fu, Dongzhu's son-in-law, he suffered a crushing defeat, abandoning his armor and weapons. Lu Bu, inherently arrogant, flew into a rage upon witnessing Li Su's defeat and executed him without hesitation. This is akin to a coach in a fierce competition, having to make difficult decisions to maintain discipline. However, no matter how valiant Lu Bu was, he could not withstand the overwhelming numbers of the enemy, nor could he resist Jiasu's tactical dimensional reduction strike. Following Jiasu's strategy, Li Ju and Guasi divided their forces into 4 routes. Li Ju lured Lu Bu from the front, Guasi launched a surprise attack on his rear, while Zhang Ji and Fan Chou directly circled around to assault Chang'an. This fighting style is utterly cunning. Lu Bu was completely outmaneuvered, sometimes chasing Li Ju, sometimes defending against Guasi, leaving him breathless from exhaustion. He wanted to engage in a proper battle, but his opponent avoided direct confrontation and instead adopted guerrilla tactics, moving to new positions after each engagement. The experience felt like sprinting at full speed on a track while your opponent kept setting obstacles in your way. Speaking of racing, China's Pai Zhongshui claimed victory at the Czech leg of the World Super Motochirurgienbalthai, securing his 5th title of the season. The ability to remain calm at extreme speeds and handle various unexpected situations is what defines peak competitive performance. Now, however, Lu Bu is clearly pushed to the brink of collapse by this relentless pressure. Just as Lu Bu was immobilized, the most fatal blow struck. Zhang Ji and Fan Chou had already led their troops to the gates of Chang'an, surrounding the city completely. More critically, the 2 generals inside the city, Li Ming and Wang Feng, had long colluded with Li Ju and Guasi. They secretly opened the city gates and allowed the Xiliang forces to enter. This was a classic example of an internal system vulnerability exploited by hackers. In fact, this principle applies not only to ancient warfare, but also to modern sports competitions, where teamwork and defensive systems are equally crucial. Consider the recent CBA semifinals. Guangxia defeated Shenzhen 2-0, and Beijing beat Shanghai 2-0, directly ending Shanghai's unbeaten home streak. What does this demonstrate? It shows that relying solely on 1 or 2 superstar players is insufficient. Once a weakness appears in the defense or someone within the team defects, even the strongest roster can collapse instantly. Similarly, during the Chinese men's basketball training camp, Coach Guo Shiqiang implemented a major roster overhaul, with 7 players leaving within a week, aiming to build a more cohesive and pure steel team. In contrast, Wang Yun and Lu Bu faced formidable external threats on the periphery and internal betrayal from within. The Battle of Chang'an, marked by initial tactical errors followed by internal collapse, was destined to end in an irreparable defeat. Whether it was the tearful farewell and contract signing on the football field, the ironclad defense on the basketball court, or the high-speed sprint on the racetrack, all convey a fundamental truth. In this highly competitive world, one must possess not only formidable strength but also a robust system and absolute loyalty. The defensive system of Chang'an had completely collapsed. For a moment, the city was filled with deafening cries of battle and flames soaring into the sky. The Xiliang troops slaughtered every person they encountered and looted everything in their path, while civilians cried out in anguish, a scene too horrific to behold. This was undoubtedly the darkest day of 192 AD. The entire city's operating system instantly crashed, plunging it into utter chaos and panic. Upon learning of the city's fall outside its walls, Lu Bu was consumed by anxiety and immediately led his troops back to reinforce it. However, by then it was too late to remedy the situation. His army had been fiercely ambushed and killed by the Western Liang forces, suffering heavy casualties and falling into disarray. This was akin to a company's core product line collapsing entirely. Its stock price plummeted, its cash flow broke down, and no matter how hard one tried to stabilize the market, there was no way to reverse the damage. Lu Bu, leading his defeated troops, charged to the gates of Chang'an. Seeing the city engulfed in flames, he realized the situation was hopeless. He approached Wang Yun and said anxiously, "Grand Minister, the city is fallen. Let's flee immediately. As long as we retain our strength, we won't lack resources. There's always a chance to rise again." In such circumstances, any rational leader would first prioritize minimizing losses, preserving their core assets and the vital foundation of their team, and seeking new opportunities. But Wang Yun shook his head, tears streaming down his face, his expression resolute. As the Minister of Works of the Han Dynasty, I have received profound favors from the state. Now that the nation is in peril, how can I merely survive by any means? I will stand or fall with Chang'an and swear to protect the emperor to the death. Leave with Diao Chan immediately. Leave me alone. To be honest, I was deeply moved upon hearing this. Wang Yun's choice reminded me of those pioneers fighting alone in the uncharted territories of technology. Look at recent news. SpaceX is submitting its IPO application this Wednesday, with expected listing as early as June 12th. Although this may put short-term pressure on Tesla's stock price, it precisely reflects Elon Musk's determination to stake his entire fortune and press forward without hesitation in exploring the vast cosmos. Additionally, China's domestically produced No. 103 racing gasoline has been officially put into use in Xinjiang, ending the history of relying on imported fuel for top-tier competitions. The second large cruise ship, the Ida Huaqing, is undergoing sea trials, and the Shenzhou 23 spacecraft is scheduled for launch in the near future. Behind these monumental breakthroughs lies a group of individuals like Wang Yun, those with unwavering convictions and willing to sacrifice for their ideals. Lu Bu pleaded for half a day, but Wang Yun refused to leave no matter what. With no other choice, Lu Bu had to lead Diao Chan and a small group of trusted men to break through the encirclement, heading south to join Yuan Shu. Thus began the turbulent life of exile for this greatest warrior of the Three Kingdoms era, a story that evokes deep sighs. Li Ju and Guo Si led their troops into the imperial palace and seized control of the young emperor. They threatened to execute Wang Yun to avenge Dong Zhuo. The young emperor trembled in fear and pleaded desperately, but Li Ju and Guo Si remained unmoved. Wang Yun, looking at the young emperor in the devastated city, sighed deeply, leaped from the Xinping Gate Tower, and sacrificed his life for his country, bringing an end to his legendary and tragic life. Wang Yun has fallen, but the reflections he left us are far from over. In this rapidly changing era, whether it is the political buoy of ancient times or the technological competition of modern times, we face countless difficult choices. Samsung Electronics' stock price once fell by 5.3% before rebounding, with the union making concessions to resume negotiations. The latest quarterly reports of Apple, Nvidia, Tesla, as well as JD.com, Tencent, and Alibaba within China all highlight increased AI investments as their core strengths. Zhongji Shuchuang's stock price broke through the 1,000 yuan mark before retreating, but its 1.6T optical modules entered mass production, resulting in a 262% surge in Q1 net profit. Markets may fluctuate and technological barriers exist, but as long as the direction is correct and belief remains, temporary setbacks are not formidable. Wang Yun defended his beliefs with his life, while today we must use technology and innovation to transform the world. With Wang Yun leaping from the Xinping Gate Tower, the large-scale system restructuring in Chang'an City finally came to an end. But what was the outcome? We witnessed a complete disaster. With Wang Yun's death, Li Ju and Guo Si completely seized control of Chang'an's government. These two men were even more brutal than Dong Zhuo. They constantly sent their troops to plunder and oppress the people, turning the city into a living hell. The entire court was gripped by fear, and the Eastern Han dynasty existed in name only, plunging into even deeper darkness. Zhang Ji and Fan Chou took advantage of the situation to expand their territories and collect taxes, wielding their power arbitrarily in the surrounding regions. As Jia Su watched these incompetent individuals hold power, he sighed inwardly, knowing they could accomplish nothing significant and could only endure temporarily. This story is essentially and profoundly insightful business review. Wang Yun succeeded in his schemes but lost the broader strategic vision. Lu Bu won the favor of beauties but lost his foundation. Li Ju and Guo Si captured cities but lost the support of the people. Only Jia Su maintained exceptional intelligence throughout the entire process, quietly amassed great wealth, and emerged as the ultimate winner. The underlying logic behind this is exactly identical to the global situation we observe today. As you can see, the recent summit between the Chinese and U.S. leaders has just concluded. Although a new framework and a trade council were established, markets responded by voting with their feet, a sharp decline in tech stocks. Why? Because people realized that macro-level agreements cannot resolve the fierce competition at the micro level. This is similar to Wang Yun's belief that eliminating Dong Zhuo would restore the Han dynasty. He overlooked the fact that the vast, existing market represented by the Western Liang forces had not been effectively addressed. As the U.S.-Iran standoff intensified, The Strait of Hormuz emerged as a global threat to internet connectivity, driving oil prices directly above $110. This extreme uncertainty triggered frenzied sell-offs in global bond markets, with a 30-year U.S. Treasury yield approaching its annual high. It was akin to the people of Chang'an facing the tyranny of Li Ju and Guisi, completely uncertain whether they would have food tomorrow, as the entire societal trust framework collapsed entirely. Moreover, Putin's visit to China has brought another highlight to Sino-Russian relations. SpaceX is set to submit its IPO application this week, and Elon Musk is once again stirring up the competition for Tesla's attention. In this era full of uncertainties, only those who control core resources and can discern trends will survive. Jiasu was precisely such a visionary. He recognized that Li Ju and Guisi represented merely temporary trends, so he chose to remain in the background, awaiting the true opportunity. In contrast, Wang Yun was akin to a CTO who mastered technology but lacked management expertise. He devised a flawless change strategy. The product's post-launch operations descended into chaos. He failed to win over users, the former subordinates of Xiliang, or balance team interests between Lu Bu and the civil official faction, ultimately leading to a complete system collapse. So friends, whether in the power struggles of ancient times or today's international dynamics, the principle remains the same. Tactical diligence alone is insufficient. Strategic foresight is essential. Our task is not merely to address immediate challenges, but also to take responsibility for the future ecosystem. This is precisely the story. A series of ingenious strategies eliminated the villain. Stubbornness and poor judgment led to great calamity. The valiant general fled, the loyal minister perished, and Chang'an once again fell into the clutches of rebel forces. To learn what happened next, stay tuned for the next chapter.